In this video, we're going to talk about land pollution and soil degradation. And soil is a complex mixture. That's composed of worn down rocks, um, organic matter, water, air, minerals such as calcium, magnesium, and iron, nutrients like nitrates, and organisms, worms, insects, bacteria, things that decompose the soil. And so the organic matter is mostly decaying plants and animals. And so here I've drawn a little schematic of a cross section of soil. And the top or litter layer consists of leaves, twigs, waste, partially broken down organic matter, and plants that are alive. And then we have the topsoil, the most fertile area where the roots grow, contains the bulk of the nutrients and water. And then the last is rock. So here I've shown a little picture where here this would be the litter layer. This would be the litter. And the next layer is the topsoil layer. And then this would be the rocks. And farming, deforestation, mining, construction removes the litter layer and plant roots, which exposes the topsoil and allows weather processes to remove it, making the land less fertile. Because this is the important part, the topsoil. Because it's like where all the nutrients are, it's where the roots grow. And so once we remove this litter layer off the top and the root structure in the topsoil, then weather can just remove it away the topsoil and make the land less fertile. And so here are some signs of soil loss. And so if you see soil on the pavement after a rain or the sidewalks, exposed tree roots, dirt, sediment, soil, and ditches after the rain, or muddy water after rain, in the rivers and streams after big storms and things like that. You will see rivers and streams full of mud. And now we're going to move on to land pollution. So we have a solid waste, which consists of paper and plastic bags, aluminum cans, glass bottles, citrus peels, eggshells, clothing, anything that's not a liquid, basically. And there are two types of waste for our concern. Is biodegradable. So that's natural process, and those decomposers can break down. These are mostly just organic materials. And then we have non-biodegradable. That means natural process and decomposers cannot break down. So this is like plastics and glass bottles. Because plastics are usually made from petroleum, and so they don't naturally degrade over time. And this is, again, right out of the Merit Badge pamphlet. There are 132 million tons of solid waste are collected by garbage trucks every year in the U.S. And about 55% of that goes to landfills for burial. And then about 30% gets recycled, and another 15% gets burned. And an important note I say here is biodegradable stuff, biodegradable things like foodstuffs and things like that, that is buried. If it's completely covered over, it will not decompose due to the lack of oxygen. So these bacteria and other things need bacteria to, need oxygen to do their decomposition. Okay, so now we need to define another term, hazardous waste. So that waste that is harmful to human health or the environment. So it can be toxic, it can be flammable, and it could be corrosive. So corrosives is generally defined as strong acids or strong bases. Remember, we talked about pH. So a strong acid, we have something with a low pH, and a strong base, we have a high pH. And so corrosives are these strong acids and bases that can dissolve flesh, metal, or other materials. So that's hazardous waste, toxic, flammable, corrosive stuff. And 98% of the solid waste comes from mining, agricultural, and petroleum natural gas. Okay, and a lot of the hazardous waste is just poured in metal containers and buried. And if that is improperly stored, the metal containers can corrode over time and leak over time and contaminate the groundwater. Okay, here's another term that you need to be able to define, and that's brownfield. And a brownfield is an abandoned piece of land that was once used for industrial or commercial purposes that is contaminated with industrial waste or hazardous waste. And so we already said hazardous waste is toxic, flammable, corrosive stuff. And so some examples of a brownfield could be an abandoned gas station, abandoned factory, an old dry cleaner, metal plating facilities, or even landfills. And this is kind of shocking. I got this off the EPA's website. There are an estimated 450,000 brownfields in the United States. So these are 450,000 abandoned pieces of land that have hazardous waste on them. But through the EPA, people can apply for grants and help to help clean up these sites. So solutions to land degradation and pollution. Most soil erosion comes from farming and actually raising cattle, so approximately 5 billion tons are eroded every year. So solution is always leave a top plant layer so that there's no bare soil, okay? In hilly areas, you can use terracing or contour farming. Then around streams and riverlands, prevent erosion by adding plants, rocks, and other structural support. How can you reduce the amount of solid waste you personally produce? And the Merit Badge pamphlet presents the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So reduce means reduce the amount of waste that you're putting out, by composting your waste, buying your produce and your things that you need for day-to-day, and things that haven't been prepackaged. So don't buy vegetables that are in like a plastic container at the store. Buy them just as vegetables and take them home. Then reuse, like get a water bottle and reuse it and fill it at a water station. Where I work, there is currently purified water stations throughout the campus, and you can just fill them as needed. You could repurpose plastic bags for storage, or stuff that you don't need anymore. You can donate to Goodwill or sell, instead of just throwing it in the garbage. And then recycle. Recycle your plastics, glass, paper, and aluminum.